a grid of all the courses that are available. Let's add navigation that would allow a student to navigate to the sections of that course, and those sections can contain the number of seats. Right, if the seats is greater than 0, then a student can then enroll in there. All right, so let's do that. That's in the grid, right? In the course grid, on the client side, in the Angular client side, we have course grid right here. And in the course grid, notice that we have a hyperlink at the bottom that allows us to navigate to that particular course, right? So what we could do is add an additional hyperlink that says, well, I want to navigate maybe to the sections of that course. So that particular course / section, right? So I can say enroll, maybe we'll call it enroll or something. Right, so there's our enroll button at the bottom, and when we click on it, right now it doesn't go anywhere. Right, it goes back to our default location because it doesn't know where to go. Right? So let's add a sections or section list component, right? That can list the sections for that particular course. Right now there are no sections, so we'll need to build that from scratch. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create a. We're in the right place. We can do ng generate a component called section list. Right. So in that section list, let's see that make sure that we can navigate to that section list. Right. So we'll add the component. We'll add this route to navigate to that component, right? And we have it here. We can say we have the route right there. So we'll copy one of these, and this will go to section, and this will go to section list component. Okay. Let's verify to see if that works. Right, it navigates, right? So if I click on enroll, right, it goes to course 2 section, right? And what that might look like, let's see. We'll in that course list component, right? We can navigate there and start implementing it, right? So this might be maybe a div at the outside, and this will be maybe a container fluid, right? And this might be saying something like H1 sections for course. And then the course ID. We could spit out here the course ID. So course ID, which right now we don't have a course ID. Right, it's empty. So where can we get that course ID? We can get it from the path, right? And I think that's what we called it in the route. Right, in the course, yeah, we named it course ID. Yes. So we can grab that from the component. We can load the route, right, from an activated route, and so we can parse out here and store locally the course ID, right? So we can say something like this dot route dot params dot subscribe, right? And here are the params. And what we're going to do with params is that we only care about the course ID, right? So we're going to pass in load something like this dot load sections, right? For the course ID. So it'll be param sub course ID. So there'll be a function here, so something called load sections that takes as argument the course ID. And one of the things that it could do is that it stores it in a local field. They can say this course ID is equal to the course ID that we parsed out from the, parameters. Okay? So there it is. So this is sections for course 2. We could go and fetch the course and the title. We could do that, but I'm going to just keep it, trivial, right? Just an ID. And so we can certainly, if it's 5, then it's course number 5, right? So this is a self-contained little section list, and let's see where we can get it. All right, so the sections lives where? The sections are going to live in our MongoDB database, right? There'll be a find all sections for a course, yes? And there won't be any sections for this course, so we'll need some mechanism for creating those courses, those sections, right? And ideally, it would be an admin who would be creating the sections, right? Not a student. I'm logged in as a student. I shouldn't be able to create a section, but we're going to put everything in the same place, right? In the same page. Ideally, it would be 2 components: one for editing the list, okay, and only administrators can go in there. And then there's what students can do, and they can just enroll, but they can't create new sections, right? But let's have everything here. All right, so the sections, we don't have sections yet. So let's focus first on being able to create sections. Okay, being able to create sections. So let's have here maybe an input field where you can say the name of the section, right? And then maybe a button to add a new section. So it'll be something like an input field, and the placeholder might be section name, and this will be form control. And maybe this is bound to a field called section name. Maybe the number of seats also you can set, seats. So you can have. So we're going to bind to those to those fields, right? So this will be section, what do we call it? Section name. And we're going to have another one that maps to the seats, how many seats there are. Okay? All right. So this is seats. Seats available. Please put every one of these in different lines. It makes it easier for us to read the code, right? If you have it in your long lines, it will be very hard for us to parse it out. All right, so we have the section name and the seats available, and then maybe a button at the bottom that allows you to create a new section, right? So this will be maybe a button, and this will be a BTN success, and then BTN block to take up the entire width of the page, and this will be add section. Okay, and if we click it, it'll call a function called create section, and you'll pass in the section name and the seats as argument. Okay, make sense? So this function doesn't exist. We can go back to the component and create that event handler, and that takes as arguments the section name and the seats. And presumably there would be a service that would allow you to post. This is creating a brand new, right? So it would need to be a post. It would be something like this section service, right? And it will be .create section, and you pass in the section name, section name and seats. So section name and seats. Right, and there would be some then that tells you that we're okay. Make sense? All right. All right, let's do that later. All right, so there is no section service. So let's create a section service. Let's create a section service. So it'll be somewhere in the, there'll be a class in, there'll be a class in the services. Let's see, where's services? Where do we put it? Services, there we go. So we'll create a new TypeScript file called section.service.client.ts. Okay. So this will look something like export class section service client. And one of the things I would like to be able to do is this has all the CRUD operations from the client's point of view. Right? This will have create, delete, update, whatever, right? Would live here. So here we have create section would be here. And it takes as argument the name and the seats. It can create a local variable that holds the data, name, and seats. Although in the new JavaScript, right, you can just we can be lazy and it'll take the values. Right, we don't have to copy them straight. Right, it'll populate it for us. Right, so we have the section, and now we're just going to post that section. Right, to some servers that doesn't exist on the server, right? On the server, we don't have that. Right, so we'll build that from scratch. Right? Okay, so it'll look something like return, fetch. It'll go to let's create a constant here. It'll be section URL, and it'll be something like http:// localhost, what is it? 4000 /API/section, right? This will probably need the course ID as well, right? So to create the relationship, right? So the URL probably will be something like course/ course ID, right? And then section, and we're going to replace that course ID with whatever is passed in. Make sense? So that means that here we need to pass in also the course ID as an argument. Right? So this will be course ID as an argument. That means that from the controller we need to pass in the course ID, which we do have here, right? We're storing it in a local variable here, so we're gonna be able to pass it right there. Okay. Well, this will be this.course ID. All right, excellent. All right, so it's going to do a fetch. It's going to use the section URL. It's going to replace course ID, replace it with the argument course ID. And this will be a post, so it will be method post. What else? We'll need to pass in the data, the body. It will be the JSON.stringify section. What else do we need to know? We'll need to pass in the headers, yeah. The credentials. Do we need to pass the credentials? Well, maybe not, right? Because we're creating sections for a whole bunch of folks, right? But if I want to enroll, then yes, I need to know who you are, right? But to create the section, we don't need it. Yes? True. Yes. Right. But what I'm saying is that creating the section, the admin, the creating the section doesn't need to know that that it's going to associate anything with you, right? It doesn't need to know your ID. But yes, to check whether you are in that particular role, yes, right? So I'm going to pass it in. So presumably you're logged in as an admin, right? And this would allow me to know that it's still you. Okay, it's the same cookie that I sent you a while back. We'll need a headers to say that this is a JSON, so headers. And here we will need to say that this is the content type is application/JSON. Anything else? Let's see. I think that's it, right? So we are passing the section, right? All right, so let's see. Notice that the section service, we are using it, but we never injected it into the component. To be able to inject it, we need to declare it as a data service provider. So we'll do that in modules. So in modules, right, we're going to register our section service client as a provider. Yeah. Now that it's a provider in the component, we can inject it as a dependency. Right. We can say private service and is of type section service client. Right, and now we can say service. That's this service right there. Okay, so now it's happy, right? It couldn't find it earlier, but now it's sending it to create section, and now it's complaining that I can't find create section. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it does find it. Let's try it out. Right, obviously the server is going to complain, saying I don't have that. Right, nobody's mapped to that URL. But we can look at the network, right? And if we just type anything. Notice that it complains saying that there is no post to that URL, right? So we need to create this URL on the server side, and let's do that next.